Hey everyone, Kuro the Artist here, and welcome back to another Ben 10 breakdown. The past two videos, we've talked about some of the common criticisms of early Alien Force, but this time we're going to talk about one of the highlights of early Alien Force that later derails into criticism, which is Ben and Julie's relationship. This is one of the things generally considered to be handled extremely well and widely received positively from the fandom. Julie is a character that was unfazed by the weirdness that follows dating an alien superhero. Unlike Gwen and Kevin, who work together best by balancing each other out, Ben and Julie's strengths come from their similarities. They both love humor, they love movies, chili fries, playing sports, and mini golf, just for a handful of examples. Despite her lack of powers, she is still involved with the team any way she can be, and even fought beside Ben during the hybrid invasion. And this was before when she got the power suit, so she was really putting herself out there. Now, where did it all go wrong? That's a topic for another time, because there are many layers to this discussion. So right now, let's focus on a time when their relationship was at its narrative peak. Both the characters really enjoyed each other's company, cared about each other's feelings, and have fun together, and this is the episode where it all started. If this is your first breakdown and you'd like to know how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all of my previous breakdowns, but by all means, watch this one first. I'm sure you'll still enjoy the video. Before we dive in, I got some quick updates, so let's hammer those out. First, I'd like to say that I will be reviewing these episodes in production order. Back when I reviewed Classic, I had a poll on if I should do production order or airing order, and y'all voted airing order, and I was fine with that because with Classic, it more or less didn't matter. And while Alien Force airing order doesn't differentiate from the production order all that much to begin with, but I'm still going with the production order just because Alien Force was written to be that way, and they put a lot of effort into their linear storytelling. I might as well experience Alien Force in the most accurate way that it was supposed to be represented while I'm doing these breakdowns. Next, let's take a look at last week's poll. Last week's poll was about everyone's opinions on Gwen and Kevin as a couple, and 71% of y'all said they enjoy them being together. I just want to point out that I really appreciate when y'all participate in these polls. I very much enjoy looking through all the comments and seeing all the discussions, even if I don't respond to all of them. But part of the fun of these breakdowns is also seeing the discussions that develop in the community, so shout out to everyone who participates in these weekly and doing your part in keeping Ben 10 relevant. Now let's hear a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey y'all, it's your bro Fro, the bro with the fro. Are you tired of seeing my face? If your answer is yes, then that's too damn bad! But if your answer is no, then boy are you in luck. Our sponsor for this video is Ridge Wallet. Are you tired of carrying around a janky ass wallet with too many pockets, material that erodes easily, and let's just be honest, looks like crap? With the Ridge Wallet's slick design, you can stay fresh and up to date with today's style while keeping your cards compartmentalized. Another cool thing about the wallet is that it's created with RFID blocking technology, so you don't even have to worry about digital pickpocketers. If you're ready to go from broke to woke, head over to ridge.com/theinktank for 10% off your purchase. And with that purchase from ridge.com, you'll be entered into a sweepstakes for a 2020 off-road convertible Jeep Gladiator, or $50,000. Personally speaking, I'd take the $50,000, but hey, it's not me. It's you. So what the hell are you waiting for? Go to ridge.com/theinktank and make a purchase today.
Peer Pressure aired on May 31st, 2008 and was written by Len Uli, who will continue to write episodes all the way through Omniverse. Ben and Julie finally have their first date at the local pier, but Ben's nervous that something alien might happen and compromise his identity. To no one's surprise, of course something happens. As a Mechamorph symbiote we later come to know named Ship starts taking control of all the rides around the pier, causing a lot of commotion, and Ben's gotta figure out what this little guy wants, while still maintaining his date with Julie. It's been a bit since I've seen this, but I thought Bazel's ship also looked mechamorphy. Could he need to be merged with the ship to fly it? Oozing on out. We see some red mechamorph texture in there. This looks especially good. The way the liquid is animated, you could tell it's very thick, but also it's doing a good job keeping up with all the stripe patterns. And now it morphs into a spine, looks around. Kind of looks like he has 4 legs right now, instead of the usual 2 in his tail. Man, I love how he blorps around. Ah, so smooth. The frame rate especially helps. You can tell there's a lot of drawing stitched together for here. Some GUI and water animation can look choppy because they just do the key poses. But this has all the in-betweens. So I was debating when I should point this out, and I figure now's a better time than ever. Red and silver is such a common color combination in Ultimate Alien and Alien Force, to the point where sometimes it becomes ridiculous and sickening. I almost wanted to make a red and silver counter, but that also doesn't really fit the whole vibe of the counters. But if you look for it, like, a lot of objects, characters, and armor have red and silver on them, and it becomes increasingly used the more the series goes on. Maybe I seem crazy right now, but trust me, as we keep these breakdowns going, you'll see it. A hard thing about Alien Force Mechamorphs is in the original series, they also had white to help break up the green and blue, whereas from Alien Force forward, even all the way up to Omniverse, they get rid of the white, so sometimes it's harder to see the details. But also, this truck isn't upgraded. When Upgrade would merge with something, the object in question would, you know, upgrade. It would turn into a better version of itself with extra weapons and ways to move and all of that, sometimes even involuntarily. Like, Ben wouldn't even know what he was gonna get when he upgraded something.
Not the kind of upgrade I had in mind.
So it's interesting to see a ship merge with something but not upgrade it, because that always seemed like there was no choice for Mechamorphs. If you merge with something, you have to also upgrade it, and ship's breaking that rule. I guess that kind of counts. See, the truck is now able to bend in places that it normally wouldn't, and it's opening itself up like teeth. I guess it was just not too much of an upgrade. These two people have the same sense of fashion. And this guy's wearing a pretty familiar jacket. In fact, I think he's wearing the same jacket from that one extra in the original series where Ben's upgrade and he drives by somebody and it looks like he's wearing the Alien Force jacket. They could be sharing background models. I don't know if this scene would play better with a score or not. It's pretty dead quiet. You don't need a score. This whole scene's very quiet, which does let you resonate with the characters more, but you know, depending on how a score is used, it can also help influence that as well. But perhaps just because this is a TV show and they don't get as intricate scores as they would like.
See, she waved. She likes you. You should definitely ask her out.
Man, between Kevin and Julie, Gwen does not dance around these relationships. She's just like, make it happen.
What if she finds out about the Omnitrix? I want her to think I'm weird.
I mean, not just that, but you know, dating a superhero puts them in danger. But this kind of plotline sort of wouldn't really work today. I don't know, maybe it's because of all the pop culture and media our society consumes, but like nowadays, if anybody just came out and was like, yeah, I have powers, nobody would think you're weird. I can't see anybody resenting you for it in a negative way, maybe out of jealousy, but I don't know, I feel like society's past that and we're all just waiting for people to reveal they have powers or something now. Like if somebody came up to you today and they were like, yeah, I got this watch that turns me into 10 aliens, we'd be like, dope, that's awesome. Go throw that tree over there.
You're also funny and sensitive and well-mannered.
Gwen just called Ben well-mannered. Just let that resonate for a little bit.
Unlike some people I know.
And it wasn't even a joke. She's even implying that Kevin should take some manneristic pointers from Ben. I don't get how you could sleep with the sound of the racket smacking every couple of seconds. That would keep me up. You know, this is a strange credit to the animators, but I really like how the tennis game is played. It just looks like a real tennis match. All the posing and whatnot. They got Julie bouncing the ball before she throws. Like, I like how this game is played correctly. I'm not even a big sports person. I'm just a sucker for attention to detail. Also, I guess Bellwood's a lot less interested in tennis matches than they are in soccer games. But damn, every single character here is animated, has their own unique look to them. I mean, this crowd isn't exactly as stacked as the soccer game or the baseball game, but you know, this is a lot of extra effort they didn't have to do.
Now's your chance.
Yeah.
See, they even got her shaking hands with her opponent after the game. Wow, that crowd cleared out fast. Everyone was like, all right, tennis is over. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Julie, hey.
Wow, this whole sequence has a silver line around the dial. I like it. It implies that spherical glass shape that you can see in some of the concept art.
Way to go. Great game. Match. Set.
Oh, this man is so awkward. It's kind of adorable, though. This seems like a very real conversation. Look how pointy his ear is. That's like Omniverse Ben pointy.
Well, see ya.
Aw, good for you, Gwen, being supportive. And I really like all of this extra motion put into all of these movements. Like, this looks very human, but also very expressive. Ultimate Alien has a rep for some of the animation being pretty stiff when the characters are talking, but this is an example of really fluid and expressive animation, or like a non-action sequence. Like we don't really appreciate the smaller moments when they're animated well, but all of these little movements, the hand wave, the positions, and they look so on model too. This is very stellar.
Get together sometime.
There's that score.
Sure, when?
Now what?
She can see you doing this, dude.
Well, guess I'll hit the showers.
Yes. Good, me too.
See, these characters feel so human, it's almost like it's live action, and it's all about the fantastic delivery from the voice actors, and all of the subtle movement where it's not so expressive where it looks cartoony, but you know, the characters just aren't standing stiff and looking at each other.
Yeah, I found that stolen truck.
Oh, that's Rob Paulson. So Ship just hung around that truck all night? I wonder if mechamorphs need to sleep. No, I really love this scene coming up right here.
That's one big zit, all right. How did you get in here?
This is also a very good look at his room. So far, I think the only other time we've seen it was in the pilot, but it was too dark to really look at the details. It even got a nice little blurry shimmer in the mirror door here. But yeah, something about this scene is just a nice human interaction between Kevin and Ben. If I wouldn't get striked, I would just let this entire scene play in full just for y'all to get a refresher if you haven't seen this episode in a bit. But I like this scene because it starts showing the strengthened bond between Ben and Kevin. We're used to stuff like that happening during like pivotal moments during an intense epic action scene where they now have to work together and fight together or whatever. But this is them just chilling, no powers, no enemies, talking about a date Ben has tonight. And this is the kind of stuff that really makes me think Kevin works so well for the team. Power set aside, these characters have great chemistry and they grow to care for each other as the series goes on.
How did you get in here? The usual way.
Did you really have to break his door though, Kevin? Come on. You know how much you hate when people fuck with your car. It also might be a callback to the last episode where he did do that to break into Michael Morningstar's house. So, you know, watching this in production order where this episode comes immediately after Michael Morningstar's episode and not with Max out in between, you're able to make that connection more clear.
One says that you need a favor.
So Gwen got Kevin to come over here to have Ben ask him for a ride. And Gwen also got Ben to ask Julie out. She's really playing matchmaker this episode. She's the biggest Bentley shipper in the fandom.
Kinda wanna go to the pier tonight. I bet you do.
Something about Kevin, he just cracks me up.
And since I don't have a car...
I like that echo filter they have on their voice for when they're in this room. It's a good way to make sure that they don't sound flat and their voices stick out too much during a scene where there's no sound effects or atmosphere sounds or score happening. If you have a really high quality microphone and you record just your voice and play it, but then try actually putting that in a scene, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You need all of these subtle filters to blend it into the scene, especially when there's not a lot of sounds happening.
I was wondering if you could give us a ride. Okay.
It's also very, very subtle, but you can hear a little creak when Kevin stands up and then hear his feet placed back down on the ground.
Okay.
There's the creak.
Okay.
And then he stands up. You know, in a very quiet scene, every sound matters. They're very selective, but very effective with their sounds in this scene.
You're gonna wait till we're in the car and then you're gonna make my life miserable, aren't you?
Kevin just can't resist fucking with Ben.
Knob broken. This should be fun.
Maybe it's just me, but I'm a sucker for very realistic dialogue and character scenes, especially when it's played subtle. It doesn't have to be a big emotional moment or a huge revelation, because objectively that's such a standard, mundane scene, but it flows so well. In fact, while I'm on this tangent, I liked this scene so much that this is one of the scenes I had Paxton Lee audition with all the way back in 2019 when I first cast him as 5YL Ben.
You couldn't knock?
I sorta did.
Wait. You're gonna wait till we're in the car and you're gonna make my life miserable, aren't you? Sweet! But you're sure this plan's gonna work? They really don't do well around visitors. Last time I was there, they thought I was a monster.
Maybe one day I'll release the recordings, who knows? But this is a perfect scene to show the very human side of Ben when he's not in such a high-stakes, end-of-the-world environment. Why is Gwen also here? She's like, I gotta see how this plays out.
At least when Ben likes a girl, he lets her know. He asks her out.
Yeah, this also makes sense putting this directly after Darkstar's episode, because it seems like she's still pissed off about all the events of last episode, which, you know, character perspective aside, it keeps the linear narrative strong with them still feeling residual emotions from what happened in previous episodes. You know, it's one thing to just state and recap stuff and be like, man, remember when we fought Darkstar last week? But when the characters still feel emotionally attached to previous events, that's another angle to play into continuity. A lot of places in the UAF era just have whatever the store or location is flatly on a sign. Like last episode, we begin with a big sign that says store, and now here we got restaurant and hotel. I mean, I guess out here, there's no other restaurants and hotels to compete with. Like, hey, where do you want to eat tonight? Oh, you know, the only restaurant in town. Must be nice to not have to worry about branding. I totally forgot about that. Does Ship really think this is efficient? We just saw him driving in the last scene. This is just, I love it. I don't even hate it. It's just, it caught me off guard. Don't forget to go to the food store. Ship, you're literally a giant car. We got Lightning McQueen here hiding behind a pole, all inconspicuous. He's tracking him. So it looks like he's got Kevin's plumber's badge and Ben's Omnitrix on his scanner. It makes me think he's able to track Ben with his Omnitrix not activated because Ship is also Galvan technology, whereas in the original series, Vilgax was only able to track Ben while the Omnitrix was in use. But it's also been 5 years, and the existence of the Omnitrix has long been confirmed in the galaxy rather than it being a rumor, so perhaps the technology to be able to track it has been developed since then. Well, nobody's here. That's actually kind of dope though. I feel like piers are much funner when you you. I don't have to wait in line.
Slow night.
Good. This way, we have the place to ourselves.
Boom. See, that's what I'm saying. Haven't heard that sound effect yet, but ooh, the Omnitrix is drawn so crisp here. It's got those inner black bands drawn on it too, from that one Big Chill sequence.
You stay here, I'll be back.
Is this how Ship sees? I love this little Omnitrix in the corner. Oh, now it's down here. You can see some hexagons around the edges too. Wow, props to them for animating this carousel just for this one shot. Yeah, maybe since Ship was just born, he doesn't know how to upgrade stuff. But then again, Ben didn't either, and he was still... I don't know how it works. He's coming for you. Jeez, how long does this pier go on for? Also, it's crazy that Ben can outrun this. But more animation props. Here, it's not even a straight running loop. He turns his head, his expression changes. This episode is animated really well. This carousel too, because at any given frame, it just looks perfectly blended into the background painting. But because of the movement, I can kind of tell that this is CG. But the CG is blended so perfectly that you can barely notice unless you're like staring right at it. Does he have to hop over this thing? Just go around. Yeah, look at him. He's fucking up this man's business for no reason. Thanks, Ben. In this shot, we get our hint of something he's gonna upgrade later. But so far, his merging just makes the metal very malleable and gives it a face. I do kind of like the design, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's different than how the Mechamorphs were typically treated. You know, he is far away from Julie. He might as well just transform now. Ooh, that's a huge fall. That didn't break his back. I guess since it's been so long since he's worn the Omnitrix, he doesn't have a habit to immediately go alien anymore. Like, he really does not need to be handling this in human form right now. And Ship comes pouring out.
You and me got a date with my insurance adjuster.
That's Rob Paulson, too.
Date? Look, here's my allowance.
He's happy with that. He's like, well, as long as I get a few nickels, you know, we're all cool.
And then he ran off, and I've been... Wait, he's coming back.
I wonder who she's talking to. Would have been neat to explore more of Julie's life, see her friends and family and all that.
You would not believe the line.
Ben, there's nobody here.
Oof. Looks bad. Did she not notice the Mechamorph cart going through and causing all that noise? Like, that was pretty freaking loud.
I thought you'd stood me up.
I'd never, ever do that to you.
Until the network demands it. Now we get a better look at Bazel's crashed ship. Looks like an even bigger hole was carved out of it. And we see his Mechamorph hand come into frame.
This looks fun.
Really? This looks like one of the lamest rides in the whole pier.
You okay?
What do you... Alright, Julie, do you not notice this?
Maybe we should skip this one.
Are you hiding something?
Turn around. It's clearly not hidden. The ship is about to come to life and attack you.
You stay here for a minute.
What are you gonna do?
Bathroom?
You could say you're gonna get help. He's like... Ben does not know how to handle himself when he's nervous.
This looks like a job for Jet Ray. Oh!
So all that disruption changes the dial. Look who we have here. And look at this. Even right before he uses the Omnitrix, the hologram is facing the correct way. Beautiful. And we start off with what looks like is gonna be the generic transformation. Although this scene is flipped from how we normally see it. Like if you look right here, you can see the stripes are drawn on the wrong side, or actually they are drawn on the right side. They just flipped the shot to try to make it a little more diverse. But look at this, another unique transformation sequence. I like seeing the inverted Omnitrix symbol. But if you watch this, Ben doesn't actually lose any of his finger bones aside from his pointer finger. So his pointer finger gets merged and then sucked into the thumb right here. But even when we get to the full crab shot, you can still see 4 fingers in there.
I'm not Jet Ray.
And our first wrong transformation of Alien Force. It's a very unique wrong transformation because the Omnitrix isn't broken right now. It's just a one-time thing. Brainstorm is drawn very tall than he regularly is. I guess it's gonna take the animators a bit to get used to his shape. The Omnitrix should also be parallel with the stripe, but you know, still a cool entrance.
I'm a seafood platter, one possessed of a highly advanced intellect.
You know what I like about this? Is Ben gets the instincts of all of his transformations when the Omnitrix is working correctly, immediately when he transforms, so that he instantly knows what the alien can do and what name he wants to give them. But I feel like Brainstorm is so smart that all of these thoughts are so overwhelming that it actually causes him to think about this process slower, because he's considering a lot more factors than he normally is. With Swampfire, he just hits the button, basic instincts, swamp Swamp Fire. With Brainstorm, he hits the button, boom, infinite knowledge downloaded into your head. Yeah, it's gonna take you a bit to cycle through it and simplify your thinking patterns down so that you can do something easy like come up with a name. You know, it's like imagine looking at 1,000 different monitors at once. It's gonna take you a second to figure out which monitor you want to look at. I guess as a very stripped down metaphor, but you know.
Assign this new life form, let's say...
Brainstorming.
Also, it's not often you see him use lightning without his head open. Usually he has to expose his cranium to shoot the lightning. So Ship's vision is different now. Maybe it changes depending on what he's possessing, but you can see a fish eye effect start inflating as he's locking on him more. It's like a Busta Rhymes music video. Yeah! So this isn't just a beam. He's shooting lightning in like all kinds of places. I'm surprised Ship is able to keep up and dodge it all. Look at this. That's insane.
What the deuce?
Yeah, they're really playing up the whole smart guy lingo here. Hey, Ship figured out how to shoot lasers. Good for him. Also, yeah, I was gonna say Julie's definitely gotta be hearing this shit by now. Ooh, electromagnetic telekinesis. I thought he only did that in season 3. I guess I was wrong. But look at the way these lasers are animated. Kind of looks like liquid. Yeah, even this is a different HUD than what he just had. I guess he just has a bunch of them. It looks like Julie is also passing over the HUD, so they got their layers mixed up. Ooh, now he's shooting a big old beam. And he got him. Love how he's fidgeting with the claws. Also, let's just take a second to look at Brainstorm by this porta potty here. You know, picture a regular person coming out with the height difference that he would have towards a regular person. With this being his first appearance, should this be our frame of reference for what his height should be? Because Brainstorm's height is all over the place. Like, take this scene from season 3, for example. Shit just gets nuts, and I'm not sure what's supposed to be the default. There is a height chart that floats around online, and yes, I have seen it, but it looks like it was a chart that was made for like promotional reasons and books and all that. It doesn't look like the legitimate height chart that they use for the show, so there could be some differences there. I'm just saying, heights are something that gets super inconsistent with Aliens as things go on, and Brainstorm is one of the biggest victims of it. Ooh, that's a white flash. That's not right. Let me just, there we go. Aw, oh, come on, Ben. You're just fucking up this whole place now.
Did I miss anything?
Wait, you didn't see that?
That's what I was saying to you earlier, Julie. How'd you miss the whole bumper cart thing? Also, this shot gives us a pretty good look at the layout of the pier. That's where the airplane thing was. This was the big old ride that got knocked in the water. And there it is. Who used to use a phone like that? You know, I always just, you know, use the thumb. Uh-oh. Great catch, Ben. This scene, Ben and this background go out of focus for the phone, but right here the floor doesn't. So you can see Ben out of focus on top of an in focus background. It creates this weird texture right here. Man, Ben, transform, dude. Although great reflexes and athletic skills, like props to you, but I mean, you know, turn into an alien. Splinters. So he looks at his watch first, maybe it's not recharging, but so far in the first 5.5 episodes that we've watched, the Omnitrix running out of power has never been stated to be a factor in this Omnitrix, and if this was supposed to be our visual cue that it was out of power, we have nothing to relate that to. So I feel like it's kind of unfair to just be like, oh, the Omnitrix needs to recharge, because the only reason we're saying that is because of the logic of the original series. That's not really a green flash either. Enjoy it while you can. This is one of the only times we'll ever see Jet Ray underwater, despite him being marketed, at least, as also a water alien.
Why am I being attacked by carnival rides?
I mean, do you not recognize the mechamorph pattern, though, Ben? You were able to turn into a mechamorph for like a solid year, and you were able to recognize Alan. It seems like the black shape on Jet Ray's mouth doesn't always line up with where it's supposed to be. As we move away from the pier, the backgrounds are starting to delve back into the infinite black void again.
Can't hit it with a neuroshock. I might hurt Julie.
Maybe because of your skill level, but I mean, you can use your neuroshock to cut off the piece that she's trapped on, fly in and grab her and land, and then just go to town on it. You're absolutely fast enough. He can't do it because of his confidence and skill, but I mean, capability, Jet Ray, you can totally take that thing down and save her right now.
I'll try the indirect approach.
What, are you gonna break more property? Ooh, wow. Who would have guessed? He's called Ben 10,000 in the future because that's how many times he gets sued by the road company. You're telling me this whole thing isn't strong enough to lift its leg out of 2 light poles? Come on, Ship. This is why you don't skip leg day. Where the fuck did it go?
Let me go!
Alright, so he didn't hear the gigantic 200-foot tall piece of metal walk away, but he was able to hear Julie squirming from like half a mile away. Alright, Jet Ray. Also, I paused this on accident, but I just noticed you can see they didn't color in his tongue.
What have you done with Julie?
Well, I like that his eyes light up as a threat, but I wish we got some background humming noise to signify it, like this.
What have you done with Julie?
See, hearing that sound effect makes you think something's happening, which makes your eyes start darting around, wondering what could be that sound, and directs your eyes to the glow. But without it, it's very easy to miss that his eyes start glowing. In fact, I feel like this is the first time I ever even noticed.
What have you done with Julie? What have you done with Julie?
They're so bright that you can still see them glowing when the angle changes.
How do you know my name?
See, now we could have faded the sound out too.
How do you know my name?
I don't know, I like sound effects.
Ben. Yes. Actually, I'm like 10 monsters.
You know, Dee's performance right here lines up very much with Yuri's performance as Ben. I can really hear Ben speaking through Jetray right now. I wonder if they have sessions where Yuri and Dee try to talk to each other to make sure that they still produce the same tones as Ben, so he always sounds like himself.
Cool.
See, what did I tell you? Nobody thinks that shit's weird anymore. I guess even back then. And that flash isn't really green either. But look at this, you can see how bright and beautifully textured and shaded these trees are, and then all gone. Just black. Fuck whoever spent their time doing this. His first word. Also, I like how these are lighting up when he talks.
I think it's trying to tell you something.
I've seen that thing before.
You're just now getting it?
Called myself Upgrade.
So in this shot, we don't see it counting down at all. Only when we zoom in do we pan up and see the thing is clicking. Aw, reminds me of my cats. Those are some quick morphs. Also shows that Ship is able to transform into things without possessing it. Another thing we haven't seen Upgrade do before.
That thing's gonna explode!
Maybe it's because of the lighting, but this is very bright for the Omnitrix. In fact, I think this is their lighting choice because it looked like this in the pilot too. So it shows this color is within their palette. Humongosaur! It's really cool that Humongosaur is strong enough to push through this field. You know, he probably needed to be Humongosaur so that he can throw this bomb, but personally my first choice would have been Chroma Stone so that I can absorb the field. But then again, you know, Humongosaur was able to go through the field and chuck the bomb, like, into the sky, so Humongosaur was the right choice. Oh my god. What do you think happened to the pier? See, they were so good with their Kevin sounds, but I would have liked the same application to Humongosaur moving off of Julie and then tapping his fingers together. Seeing him do that in silence is a bit jarring.
Right.
Something like this.
Right.
Also, probably because he was being electrocuted, but Bazel should have been able to escape this rubble just by sploshing himself down. But maybe the electricity forced him to stay in that shape.
Well, as I was saying before I lost consciousness...
Look at that, he reforms his arm. So makes me think Ship was made out of his arm.
Plumbers are intergalactic police officers.
Also, is Humongosaur missing his voice filter? Or was that just a pilot-only thing? I think he had it in All That Glitters too, but now it's just straight D.
He's going to destroy the town, but he's going to do it now. Get everyone down. Can't hold this together much longer. I'll explain later. And that's why it came after me.
There's none of that alien reverberance on there. In fact, he doesn't have a lot of that gruffness either.
And that's why it came after me.
It's just a very deep voice. In fact, I wonder if I pitch it up if it'll sound more like D.
And that's why it came after me?
Oh my god, it does. Yeah, sounds just like D now. I guess it makes sense because when you're talking in a lower voice, you are technically pitching your voice down, just, you know, manually and not digitally.
You mean the beeping?
I could spend the rest of my life here. Look, is there anyone else I can talk with?
I really love Bazel in this episode. Like Argent, Bazel sort of gets watered down, very much goes through a flanderization filter later on, but so far, even the characters I later on start getting a little annoyed with, I love their first appearances. That's just A+ characterization for Alien Force.
Get my attention.
And yet again, it isn't green. In fact, a lot of these transformations have been off-screen or obscured by, like, you know, the porta potty or being underwater or whatever.
I have to repair my warp drive.
There anything we can do to help? Now it's on tight.
Well done.
See, now his ship is covered in all the upgrade textures, whereas earlier it didn't have any of this galvanic mechamorph coating. So is his lower half, like, merged with the ship now?
What about this thing?
He's yours now.
Now, when I first saw this, I was hoping that Ben would keep him and he would show up in, like, every episode from now on. And, you know, the next episode, he's nowhere to be seen and not mentioned at all. I feel like that was the first time I was really disappointed with Alien Force's continuity. I felt like so far everything has been clicking together, and then with the introduction of Ship, just for him to not be there the next episode. But I mean, at least Julie later on keeps him, and he does show up and become a recurring character. I just wanted Ben to keep him so that he would be in every episode, but you know, that's just me. That's not a fault of the story or anything. Like, he's just running around. He literally reminds me of my cat Bruce so much.
Sorry I can't fly us home. The Omnitrix shut down to recharge.
Hey, there we go. That's what I wanted. I take back all that criticism from earlier then. Well, I mean, at least some of it. You know, I would have liked to know that the Omnitrix really does time out in the show a lot earlier than this. But hey, at least they're mentioning it now. And now that's a solid canon fact we can understand going forward. Good job, Len Uli. And Ship runs after it. Bye, Ship. Oh, that's so sweet. So let's roll up into the ratings. I'm gonna give this plot a 3. Now, the script itself is written very well. I don't have a problem with the pacing. I don't really have any problems with anything. It's just episode by episode, we're moving further and further away from the whole alien conspiracy plot that Alien Force is building itself upon. And now that I think about it, that's probably why they aired Max out first before this, so that they wouldn't lose the attention of their fan base. But this is yet another sort of teen drama episode of Ben 10 that is not everybody's cup of tea, and this really does lean into the cliches. The plot is very simple, there's not a lot of twists. I do think it's very strange that Ben doesn't recognize the mechamorph patterns. It's probably just because the audience shouldn't have to worry about it if they didn't watch the classic series because, you know, marketability. But even so, if later on you're gonna mention the fact that Ben could transform into one anyways,
Used to be able to turn into one of those. Called myself Upgrade.
Ben could at least pick up on the fact that it's a mechamorph. Like, whether or not he knows it's a mechamorph, that still leaves the mystery of who sent it, what is it doing, what's its plan here, and all of that. So, you know, it gets a 3 because it's very average, very cliche. It's executed nicely, but it's still a much more mundane episode of Ben 10. Characterizations, I just keep slamming it with these 5s lately because it's just so good. This episode especially, it felt so human. These characters were really brought to life. The way these characters were written, the actors' performances, all of the imperfections and awkwardness in the dialogue, and the body language that the characters had. It's beautiful. Like, you really don't get this kind of stuff in animation. And that's because it's just not as exciting as, you know, big flashy battles or whimsical colors and cool creatures and that. But I think to portray the characters like this realistically is an achievement of themselves. Definitely makes them feel tangible, relatable. Julie, I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more of her side, but, you know, this story is really more about Ben, so it focused on what it needed to. But there were small things about Julie's character too I liked, like the fact that she called her friend or whoever on the phone when she thought she was stood up on her date. I felt like that was a very good move to do to show that Julie sort of has her own world going on and she's not literally just standing around waiting for Ben. You know, she has her own life and Ben's actions have a repercussion on hers. There's also the parallel of Ben watching Julie at her game. When we first saw her, she was watching Ben at his game. Gwen and Kevin were also great characters in this episode too, especially that scene with Kevin. You know, one of my all-time favorite Ben and Kevin scenes. Visuals, I'm gonna hit it with a 3 though. Despite how well the episode is animated, it still doesn't have a lot of visual content. You know, the backgrounds are typical Alien Force. Not as bad as it could be, but nothing really eye-appealing. It was disappointing that Ship being a mechamorph didn't actually change any of the things he upgraded. A lot of the action was just Ben running away, so I couldn't even really call them fight scenes, just like action set pieces. And we're 6 episodes in yet, and we still haven't seen all 10 of Ben's aliens. They're really taking their time with this. So I guess, yeah, the visuals are just okay. For the episode, it does the job. The animation, definitely high quality. I might even say the animation is better than everybody talks about the weather. That episode is my standard for now, but this one might be pushing it. But it just isn't showing too much to give it that 5, you know? Importance, y'all are gonna hate this, but I'm giving it another 5. I literally just recorded a segment of me giving it a 4, trying to explain that not every single episode can be important, and if you were looking for a quick binge, this one might be a worthy sacrifice. But when I really think about it, you really shouldn't skip this one either, like, undeniably. The introduction of Ship is incredibly important because of how much Ship comes back and all the different things we do. Ship is just something so out there, you have to see where he comes from. Not to mention that this is the episode where Ben and Julie become a thing, and they're together until the end of Ultimate Alien. Also, Bazel does show up a handful of times, so you might as well see where he comes from too. It's just, if you were to list them out, there's not so many things that stack up as importance, but the things that are important in the episode, you really shouldn't skip. I'm trying not to importance 5 all these episodes, but this one, I just can't budge. You gotta see it. And entertaining, it'll get a 3. It's very passable, it can keep your attention, it's just not super exciting, and you know, overall, we're really trying to get that alien conspiracy plot rolling, and we're taking the long road to get there. So seeing something like this, if you're a fan of the more human sides of Ben 10, the characterizations and their own relationships and everything, you're gonna love this. And you know, seeing Ship, he's a great character too. But like the last couple of episodes, it is missing that Ben 10 charm. Next episode picks things back up though, so at least it's not lost for too long. But that leaves this episode off at an 18 out of 25. Let's wrap things up in our final thoughts. So, final thoughts, just some miscellaneous notes real quick. In the scene where Gwen's getting mad at Kevin for not asking her out, and uses Ben having the courage to ask Julie out as an example.
At least when Ben likes a girl, he lets her know. He asks her out. Maturity.
If you think about it, Ben didn't actually ask Julie out either, at least without Gwen's prompting.
You should definitely ask her out. Now's your chance.
Yeah.
He'll come by around 7.
Gwen convinced Ben to go ask Julie out, and that's how their date started. Yet Gwen's argument of defense when she's talking to Kevin makes it seem like she's implying Ben did it on his own. Now, I'm not saying Ben wouldn't have eventually done it, like some nonsense that they never would have been together if it wasn't for Gwen, but it makes you wonder how long Ben would have actually waited to ask Julie out, and what their first date could have been like if it didn't happen this soon. I also want to try an experiment real quick with the Humongosaur pitch. Since I got that clip of D speaking very low and pitched it up and it sounded like his normal voice, I want to see if the same will work with me. So here is me speaking very low, and if I pitch this up, it should sound like my voice. Let's see how that works. I'm honestly not gonna know until I'm editing, so I'm just gonna leave in whatever happens. So here is me speaking very low. So here is me speaking very low. And if I pitch this up, it should sound like my voice. And if I pitch this up, it should sound like my voice. Wow, that sounded like something, I bet.
So here is me speaking very low.
Lastly, in the final scene with Bazel inside of the ship, he keeps alternating between just being plain green and black, and also having a highlight on his green parts that complement the highlight on his black parts, and keeps flipping back and forth. It's just something I noticed while editing. But yeah, that's it. This week's poll is going to be, do you think Ben handled this first date well? Your options will be yes, for the most part, not really, or no. And yeah, that is kind of a vague question on purpose, because everybody has their own opinions on how did the date go well. You could base it on pretty much whatever you want. I'm just genuinely curious of what people thought of Ben's first date. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and until next time, keep it fizzy.